Hello, welcome. My name is Sabaini from Canonical, and I'm very happy to be able to present my newest baby, MicroCeph. So what is MicroCeph? In a nutshell, it's a Ceph cluster in a single package that's designed for small use cases. It's delivered as a snap for isolation. And yeah, so it has a very focused use cases. It's not a general purpose, all-encompassing storage solution, but has specifically for smaller use cases. Why did we do this? What's the motivation behind this? Problem statements is Ceph is still hard to install and operate. Typically requires expert users. And so there's some room for improvement there to get Ceph a wider use space. So how did we do this? So the first building block we're building upon with MicroCeph is the snap package format. Snap packages are self-contained software packages that have all the userland requirements that you need for a specific application inside. You get around the typical DLL hell thing where you have competing versions on your system. With MicroCeph, it's isolated, or with snap packages rather, it's isolated. Everything is in there. No need to worry if you have the right libboost or libc. No need to worry if your Python interpreter is happy with your setup tools and the scripts in the package. So that gives us an easier Ceph deployment experience. It's also makes builds more repeatable and enables better collaboration, onboarding, and quality control. So you have a consistent environment everywhere. No subtle platform differences creeping in if you're doing this repeatedly. Ceph is also sandboxed. So MicroCeph is also sandboxed in a snap. It has a specific set of configuration, but you don't have to hand over your whole host environment to Ceph. It has only very specific things you can do inside the snap. Around this, we built a small management layer. It's very lightweight. It's based on a distributed SQLite data store for key config values and management information, and a cluster that keeps track of the individual MicroCeph nodes. So with this, we hope to lower the barrier to entry for Ceph in small scales environment and provide adaptable scaling for various requirements. Example use cases, yeah. So we're not trying to do this general purpose Ceph. Yeah, we are focusing on small, simple use cases with MicroCeph. For instance, edge storage, where you need to set up small clusters consistently and reliably. Lab environments would be one where you have typically non-expert users needing some space for training or testing, or for a personal setup for developer. I'm going to have demo some of that thing. Yeah, so assumption is I'm a developer having an application, and I want to give S3 backup for my application. But I don't want to always go to Amazon for my testing. So this is a recorded demo. So I need to get out of my presentation mode here. So I hope this is visible well enough. Should I make it a little bigger, maybe? One more. So the assumption here is I have 3 VMs, and I want to set up a small testing cluster so I can test. So I have an S3 endpoint I can point my application against. Each of these VMs, I've given them an extra block device for storage. So the end result should be a Ceph cluster with 3 nodes in it and 3 OSDs, providing our Redis gateway endpoint. So I've installed the MicroCeph snap on all of these 3s. I need to pick one node for bootstrapping. I've picked VM number 0, but could be any, of course. And then I need to tell VM number 0, okay, expect these other 2 nodes to join. It's generating some tokens, and those tokens will allow the other nodes to join the cluster. Yeah, those ugly strings, that are the tokens. Yeah, so let's look at it. Indeed, we have now a Ceph cluster, but it doesn't have any OSDs yet. So no data to store, no data space where I can store anything. So let's give it some OSDs. I already said we have extra block device on each VM for this. So I'm adding this to the cluster. So how does it look? Much better. So we have 3 OSDs now in there. Let's enable Redis gateway. The other monitor and manager and MDS daemon, they are enabled automatically, but I need to tell specifically to enable Redis gateway. And I already did. I need to set up a user and credentials for the Redis gateway endpoint. And already happened. I'm pointing my application, writing some blobs into the Redis gateway store, and with the pre-configured keys. Let's check if they are indeed here. Yeah, that's it. So I have a small cluster. I can point my application at the Redis gateway endpoint I enabled there, and can develop my application or the S3 backup functionality. So can I go back into presentation mode? Fine. So that's the current status. We are actively developing this product. What will come up next? New features. Also, we have already a patch for automatic encryption of OSDs. So this is for the case where you have some sensitive data on the OSD and you don't want to care about throwing away your disks or having to shatter them or anything. So that would enable automatic encryption. We are also planning some convenience layer for network configuration, because right now you have just a single flat network namespace, but you might want to configure an extra cluster network. So that's already Utkarsh, my colleague, who should have been here as well, but unfortunately couldn't make it, is working on that. Easy upgrades is planned next. So the fact that you have everything in one package makes upgrades easier as well. But we need some coordination for Ceph to perform those especially for major upgrades. We also want to do automatic scalability control because we could have done instead of the 3-node cluster, we could have done a single node cluster as well, but we don't touch crush rules yet. So you would have gotten the normal crush rules that require 3 replications by default. So to make those, if for really small use cases where you have just want to have a single node, we want to automate the crush rules so that this use case is more straightforward. And on the other end of the scaling spectrum, we want to enable additional placement or control where your services should live. Yeah, and other more convenience and features should come in as well. For instance, that manual creation of the Redis gateway user things like that we want to automate as well. If you want to play with it, here's MicroCeph.com or GitHub. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions?
Can you go back one? Can you go back one? Previous slide. Is there a mic here?
There's a mic. I don't see at all because it's so.
Yeah, I can talk loud. So you created 3 nodes.
Yeah.
What happens when you create the 4th, 5th? Because you have 3 nodes with 3 monitors, right? So.
Right. So currently, this is the way it's set up. Is you will get 3 mons, managers, and MDSs automatically. And if you have 3, it won't create anymore. So any additional node you add there will only be here, will join the cluster, and it will join any OSDs you have, but it won't create an additional mon or manager or MDS.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you actually use volume to create the OSDs, or is it like custom? Do you have your own way of provisioning the daemons?
No, it's using under the hood. It's using not Ceph so Ceph volume, make file system, Blue Store. Yeah.
And does it make sense to have like the orchestrator in Ceph, like managed MicroCeph at some point? Because it looks like you're gonna replicate some functionality which is already in Ceph ADM inside this project. Maybe it's too early for that, but it might save some work.
Well, it's a different spin and different requirements. Yeah, with the snap packaging, we rely on a Linux distribution that can run snaps like Fedora or Ubuntu. Ceph ADM has a broader use case range. Yeah. So different use cases.
Which version on Ceph are you based on, and do you intend to ever publish a deb package instead of Snapstore?
So the question was which version of Ceph we are based on. So this is Quincy, and we plan to as soon as it's available to publish Reef as well. As for deb packaging, that won't be possible because we're specifically relying on the isolation features of snaps, which are not present in Debian packages, unfortunately. Yeah, so snaps work by bind mounting, or the feature we are using in snaps works with bind mounting specific locations into our own, and then the namespace of the snap, for instance, etc Ceph. Yeah. So we don't have any host interference. Yeah. So you could absolutely have a Ceph common package, the Debian package, installed on the host and a snap on top, and they won't get in the way of each other.
Yeah, but for me it's the other way around. It's more. I was more interested in getting a Debian package up to date. So Debian itself produces Ceph packages. I was wondering whether you tried to do that as well at some point.
We do produce Ceph packages, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but via Snapcraft, not as a classical Debian package, because you do your Ceph environment through.
I'm not sure I understand the question. So we have in Launchpad, we have regular Debian packages for Ceph that are based on upstream, I believe. So we are updating those regularly, also for Reef, if and when it comes out. Yeah, but those is and actually the MicroCeph snap itself is based on those packages. So we are using those packages, pulling them in, several packages, so that we have all the userland into one single package.
Do you do it with setup with a debconf? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Go.
Sorry?
sorry. Do you use a depconf to pull in the packages to set up the snap package?
And no, that is done by the Snapcraft tooling.
Oh yeah, underwater. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions? Shout out because I can't see you. Sorry, I'm so short-sighted.
How about the networks? I didn't saw on your demo. Do you creating a front and back end networks and things like that?
Right.
So what are the requirements?
So right now it's using a single network namespace. So you can absolutely under the hood go in and tell the Ceph that is running inside the Snap, use this cluster end, a backend, or use this network as a front end. But there's no direct support for MicroCeph yet. This is in development, so you can configure a separate cluster backend, or have some. Really, it's a convenience layer on top of Ceph. You could also go in yourself and configure the cluster backend, but we're trying to make that some what more easier and restart services automatically and things like that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you. Welcome. We're on the booth down there. We're also hiring, so message from a sponsor.